Hi everybody, I'm an addict, and my name is Barry.
Hi, Barry.
How's everybody doing? Good. Well, I'm doing good. My feet are killing me. I got heel spurs, and I've been on my feet all day. My back is killing me. I have 2 herniated discs. I got a killer headache, and one of my testicles is aching. But my spirit is fine. My spirit is alive. You know, I like to start positive. And it's like a little bit after 12 o'clock, which means what?
New day.
We all got another day clean.
All right.
Right? So if everybody would just look at the person next to them and say, you know what? We're not supposed to be here. But we're here anyway. We're here. We're here. We're here. None of us are supposed to be here. Okay? If we got what we deserve, it would be jails, institutions, and death. We're the lucky ones. We found NA. We're the committed ones. We stayed in NA. We were offered a new way to live. And we bought it. Lock, stock, and barrel. I believe the only people who stay here are the people that buy it heart and soul, buy the whole package. The people who don't buy the whole ball game don't stay here. And I believe the only people who believe in NA are the people who have nothing else left to believe in. And God doesn't make mistakes. Not at all. I'm going to share a little bit about my week and some of my secrets, self-centeredness, self-centered fear is going to come out. My wife just had a baby Tuesday. 3rd child. Thanks. The World Convention Committee called me like a few months ago and asked me if I would come and share on this topic. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. Now, the original due date for my wife was tomorrow morning. Okay? So right away, my fear was, is this baby going to screw up my maybe one in a lifetime opportunity to share at a world convention? I mean, that's real. You know what I mean? That's real. And I asked my wife, I said, listen, I was at the first 2. Would 2 out of 3 be okay? And she said, no way. It's 3 out of 3. So right away, yeah, I was messed up to the max. You know, because in my life, unfortunately, sometimes I think I'm the most important person on the earth. As it turned out, it kept getting closer and closer. And with 1 month to go, she was on bed rest. And every day I came home, and it's like, is the baby here today? You know, I kept coming home and looking for her car in the driveway, hoping it wasn't there, hoping she was at the hospital, hoping that the baby was here, hoping that I could come and do this. And it wasn't happening. And each week that went by, my fear became greater. And each week that went by, and see, while this was happening, like I said, she was on bed rest. The only time I could get to a meeting was with a babysitter, and in the last 4 weeks, I think I've been to 4 meetings. So my total self-centeredness, man, was at an all-time high. My fear was at an all-time high. And some days, it was even hard for me to live with myself. You know? And in the last week, as it happened, Monday night she went to the doctor, and the doctor said she was high risk anyway. She had a kidney transplant. She was over 35. Her blood pressure was high, and the doctor said he wanted to do a C-section. I was like, all right, there is a God. You know? Because right away I knew I could, I knew that I'd be coming here. And the baby was born. The baby's beautiful, 8 pounds, 5 ounces. He's a little hairball. She's okay. Now, here's where the shit really gets deep. She was supposed to come home today, this morning. Doctor said she's got to come home tomorrow. I live in New Jersey. And she said, who's going to come and take me and your son home from the hospital? And I said, well, I'll see what I can do. And you know what? She loves me so much, and she knows what NA means to me. She knows what my recovery means to me. She said, okay. I was going to drive back from here tomorrow morning to New Jersey, take her home, then drive back here to the convention to spend more time here. And she said, don't worry about it. And we got a buddy of mine to do it. Now, Monday, after the baby was born, I was in labor and delivery with my mother-in-law. And I was telling her about all the things I was going through. All the fear, all the self-centeredness. And she just looked at me and she said, you know what, Barry? You were chosen for a reason. You were chosen for a reason. God don't make mistakes. The only one who didn't have faith was you. Where was your faith? Where was my faith? Out the window. I forgot all the evidence that's been presented to me since I've been coming to Narcotics Anonymous. And the evidence that's been presented to me is overwhelming. And when I was sitting in the delivery room, and I was holding this new baby on my chest, I just thought to myself, I said, God, what did I ever do to deserve this? God, why me? God, this is unbelievable. What can I ever do to repay you? And I told my mother-in-law this. And all my mother-in-law did was look me right in the face and said, just keep doing what you're doing. That's the payback. In the 12th step, it says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, whereas 2 things. Carry this message to the addict who still suffers, and practice these principles in all of our affairs. 2 things. That's all I have to continue to do on a daily basis. And I didn't have the faith. I couldn't see past my own total self-centeredness. This topic, when they first called me, I went back and forth with it. You know, it's not easy. It's real easy to get up in front of a crowd of people and talk all kinds of good stuff. You know what I mean? It's not real easy to get up in front of a bunch of people you know, don't know, whatever, and get honest about my true nature. It's not easy to get up in front of a crowd of people and talk about some of the slime ball things that I've done at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 years clean. But you know what? The closer I can get to the truth, the closer I become with you. The closer I get to the truth, the closer I get to the God of my understanding. The closer I get to the truth, the closer I get to the principles that we're all trying to live by. And you know what? More than anything else in my life, I want to be able to look somebody dead in the eye and say, you know what, man? I'm living this way of life. You know what, man? I'm doing the right thing. And you know what, man? It's for the right reason. That's what I want. More than anything in life, I want to live right. That's all I ever wanted, was to live right. I just didn't know how. Nobody ever told me that people like us could live any other way than the way I always lived. Nobody told me. Nobody told me that there was a way out. But when I came here, when I was graced enough to wind up here, and somebody said, you know what, man? We have a better way for you to live if you make a decision to commit and do what we're doing. Once I found out that there was a way out, I jumped on it. And I made a lot of errors along the way. You know, and now I'll get into the meat and potatoes. You know, anybody who came here to hear some juice, here it comes. You know what I mean? When I came to NA, the first step meant for me, I couldn't use drugs successfully. Period. But I could continue to act out in the same ways I've always acted out. I just didn't know that I'd suffer the same consequences. That was a rude awakening. Nothing spiritual about that. And I did. I put down the drugs and picked up everything outside of myself that I could possibly afford, steal, beg, borrow, con, manipulate, or contrive. I came to NA and I saw people who looked nice, wearing nice clothes, had some gold jewelry, was going to the diner, had a couple bucks in their pocket. I thought that was recovery. It looked good. And if it looked good, goddamn, it must feel good. So that's what I based my wants, wishes, and desires on. The ways and means to get more. I used to live and live to use. Whatever. I remember, you know, after I've been clean for a little while, man, the women look great. Oh, man, the women look great. And I was like a kid in a candy store. See, I don't know about anybody else, but like probably the last 10, 15 years that I used, if I had sex a dozen times, it might have been a lot. It took too much effort. I knew I could please me without having to work. I wasn't interested in pleasing anybody else. Why bother? You know what I mean? As long as I knew how to make myself feel good, what did I need you for? You know what I mean? You were just a pain in the ass. You were somebody I might have to split my drugs with. Somebody I might have to spend my money on. Somebody who might want my time, my energy. Anything. I didn't want to give up anything. Just leave me alone. Okay? Leave me alone. I don't want no parts of you. And when I came to NA and cleaned up and my body started functioning after all those years on methadone, I started, getting a little healthier, and man, next thing you know, it was like I was a kid in a candy store. It was, and I looked at NA women as a smorgasbord. And I didn't care what I had to do or what I had to say to get over. Promised marriage, no problem. Take you to dinner, no problem. Because you know what? I take you to dinner and then go steal the money back from work the next day. No big deal. And I hurt a lot of people. I hurt people. And you know what? I don't want to hurt people. Because when I hurt people, ultimately, I'm hurting myself. And I didn't get clean, and I didn't come to NA to hurt myself. I didn't. I don't want to hurt anybody. I didn't know how not to. I can remember, like at 5 years clean, meeting this really fine young lady. And, like lying my ass off to her, you know what I mean? Like, she had a year. She had just celebrated a year. And she hadn't been with a guy the whole year, man. I was like, all right. And, she kind of liked me, and I lied my ass off to her, I told her this was it, man. We'd probably be living together by next month. And she put faith in what I said, and I used to talk all this good talk about steps to her. I used to sit down and tell her what the first step was and what the second step meant and how I applied the third step in my life. And what faith was and what acceptance was and what commitment is. And she was like, wow, all the way into bed. And then as soon as I got what I wanted, I dumped her. I don't know if she's ever been with a guy since. I mean, not that I'm that powerful. You know what I mean? But that's what I did, man. I can remember bringing home, I was 37 years old, and this like little 14-year-old girl was coming to meetings, and she wanted to go for a motorcycle ride. I said, come on, hop on. You know what I mean? She was easy pickings, man. 14 years old. I'm not proud of that. I hope to God that I never do it again, but I know for sure I wouldn't do it today. 14 years old. And you know what? After I did it, I was proud of it. I bragged about it. I thought it was dynamite. That's sad. That's sick. That's disease, man. That's disease. You know what? I don't like standing up here and telling people that stuff. But you know what? People need to know the truth about all of us. I can remember, I know the way I think. I know the way I act. and I know the things I've done clean. And for a long time, I was going to meetings, and I would hear people share from a podium all this marvelous talk. And you know what? For a while, I was believing that maybe my problems were deeper than what NA had to offer. One more time, I tried to disqualify myself from what was happening here because of other people's inability to tell the truth. Okay? What I found out is the more honest I can get about myself, the more acceptance I get from others, and the more self-acceptance I get within. When I can stand up here and tell people what I did to a 14-year-old girl at probably 4 years clean when I was 37 or whatever, 38, it takes me closer to God. You want to hear a story? I'll tell you a story. I had a guy living with me who I met through an H&I commitment, and I'm an H&I guy all the way. All the way. I got this message from 4 people from a Narcotics Anonymous H&I subcommittee who told me, Barry, you don't have to live the way you're living any longer. We have the answer. We are the solution. So when I got clean, my heart was in H&I. And I had a prison commitment every Friday night for 2 years. And you talk about tough. Try to get somebody in the summertime to go to a prison on a Friday night. Every week for 2 years I went. What happened was the guy who was the institutional chairperson needed some place to live because he made parole, and I took him to my house. To make a long story short, he robbed me and robbed the bank around the corner from me. I had the FBI and the state police at my door with search warrants. They couldn't find him, but me and another addict did, because we knew where he'd go to cop and we knew what motel he'd be hanging in. And sure enough, we found him. And I said, listen, all I want is my money back. And we kicked the door in, and all he had was a big pile of coke. So what did we do? We took it. And at this time, I think I had 3 or 4 years. The guy I was with had about 3 weeks. I said, listen, I don't know where to sell this anymore. You think you could off it for me? He said, yeah, no problem. Gone. Gone. You know what? I didn't get my money, and worse than that, I didn't learn my lesson. A few years later, probably, I don't know, like 5 years later, my brother passed away. My brother died of AIDS, and his last couple weeks alive I spent with him out in California. He had a guy who came to the house, and he was an AIDS buddy. And he came to my brother's house and he read to him. He hung out with him. He talked to him. My brother by this time was blind and losing his hearing. And he just was there. And I said, you know what? All this talk we hear about in NA, selfless service, this is it, man. So after he passed away, I came back to New Jersey and I went through like a 7-day learning experience to learn how to become an AIDS buddy. And I got a buddy, and I would go over his house and I would mow his lawn. I would hang out with him. I took him to the movies. I took him out to lunch, did his laundry for him, whatever, washed his car. And while all this was happening, in between, I went down to Daytona for Bike Week, and I saw a friend of mine that I grew up with. And I said, how you doing, man? And I hadn't seen him in, 20 years. And he says, oh, man, I'm doing great. He goes, the only thing is I'm broke. Work's really slow. And he goes, if I had some drugs to move, things would be okay. Now, it just so happened that my AIDS buddy had told me, he says, he goes, I had a guy that was buying a lot of Valiums from me, a lot of morphine from me, legalized marijuana from me, all kinds of stuff. He said, and the guy stopped calling. He goes, and I'm kind of broke. If I had somebody that I could sell this stuff to, I'd be okay. The light bulb went off. Wow, I can fix this situation. And I think I was like 7 years clean. So I called the dude up and I says, hey, I got a dude that'll sell it. He says, all right, but I'm not fronting it. I took the money out of my bank account, went and bought the stuff, drove it down with my wife and kids unknowing in the car, gave it to my buddy in Baltimore, and he said, listen, I don't have the money, I'll give it to you next week. You know what? Next week has never come. But you know what? This is where there is a God, and God don't make mistakes. The guy is in the room tonight. The guy is in the room tonight. So, that money was a small price to pay. And you know what? I'd do it again for somebody else tomorrow if I knew that that's what the outcome would be. You know what I mean? And that was like 7 years clean. At 8 years clean, I was stealing $100 a day from work. And couldn't stop. And couldn't get caught. And it messed with me so bad in here that I stayed out of work on disability for 3 years because I didn't want to go back because I was scared of me, of that, and of everything. I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to not do it. Do you know what I mean? And what finally had to happen was I had to give up the job. And the people who, a lot of my friends, even in recovery, said, you're crazy giving up that job. You're crazy. I couldn't live with myself. And this all comes from working the steps. I'm no prime example of NA recovery, believe me. I've taken my lumps. I've given my lumps. But I'm still here. You know what I mean? And that's probably the most important thing I've done. I've come back and I've told the truth. And I've told the truth and I've told the truth. I 13-stepped my wife when she had 4 days clean. It's I don't know how many years later, it's a few years later and 3 kids later, and we're doing great. I've done stuff. I've been a treasurer for groups a lot. Wait a minute, you're jumping the gun here. I've borrowed money. Thank God. I've always had the ability to pay it back. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's right. See, one thing that I found out, and I've done 2 4th and 5th steps in the last year, is that the truth will set us free. Before that happens, it'll piss us off, and it'll hurt our feelings, but it will set us free. See, the whole philosophy is, when I refuse to give up my secrets, I'm giving strength to the disease. The more I keep back from you, the stronger this disease becomes. Okay? And if I believe it's okay to hold back on the little things, and I hold back on enough little things, then what's to stop me from holding back on the big things? And see, what I found out, I've been around here long enough to come to believe that just as there is progression to our recovery, there is also progression to relapse. Okay? And dishonesty is the closest we can probably get to walking ourselves right out the door. When we're dishonest about who and what we are, we basically have no first step. And that's the end of the road. Once we have these steps in our lives, and we've had an awakening, and we basically stop living this way, then we stop the prayer and meditation. We stop the daily inventories. We stop the amends process, because we've done no wrong. We can do no wrong. We stop asking for any defects to be removed because we're squeaky clean. Everybody else has them. There's no need to admit anything to anybody because we are everything and everybody. Why take a look at me when I can look at you? Okay? Then we become recommitted to the ways and the means to get more of anything. We become unrestored. Next thing you know, boom, guess what? Wow, we forget who and what we are. Bingo. Either we pick up a drug or we pick up our recovery. And we've seen it go both ways. You know what I mean? We've seen it go both ways. It says in our book, honesty is the antidote to our diseased thinking. It says in our book, honesty is one of those 3 indispensable. Anybody not know what that word means? Indispensable. I never looked it up, but I gather it means we can't do this without it. Is that close enough? Cool. Honesty. And the most important honesty to me is internal honesty. I'm not saying it's okay to steal. But what I'm saying is, through all the experience that I've had in my recovery, through all the wrongs that I've done, through all the wrongs I've done to other people, The hope that I have found is that if I remain honest about me, honest about who and what I am, who and what my part was in all my relationships and all my affairs, honest with my sponsor, honest with my home group, honest with the guys I sponsor about me, the more relief I get. And really, what did any of us come to NA for? We came for relief. I came because, goddamn, man, I was sick and tired of living the way I was living. I couldn't do another day. I couldn't do another minute. I couldn't do another shot of dope. I couldn't do another anything. I had enough. I had enough. And I stayed here because people told me if I did what they did, I could have what they had. I'm no superstar. I'm no rocket scientist. It's a funny thing. I've never met somebody that was too stupid to stay clean. But I've met a lot of people that were too smart. I've seen a lot of 30-day wonders, a lot of 60-day wonders, a lot of one-year wonders. I see them do the microwave course. I see them sitting in step meetings and talking all this wonderful stuff. And then, the next year, where are they? Beats me. All I know is it's impossible for me to learn anything if I think I already know it all. How can anything be put into a closed mind? How can I be honest about me if I'm not willing to listen to other people? I believe it's really impossible to be honest without being open and willing. It's impossible to be willing without being honest and open. I don't think any of them can be separated. They all go together hand in hand. That's why it says the three principles are indispensable. And it's all based in surrender. Honesty is based in surrender. And it's based in acknowledgement. Acknowledging who and what I am. Acknowledging that there is a problem. The neat thing is when I come into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, when I walked into the door here tonight, what I'm saying, honestly, is I need help. I need help. Will you guys help me? Will you show me how to live?
Yes.
That's why I'm here. I'm here because I want everything that you guys have to offer. Everything. But I have to be willing to ask. I have to be willing. NA is probably the only thing in my life that I've committed to and done right for any period of time. And I'm going to be 45 years old in a couple of weeks. Nothing ever mattered to me. NA does. It's really neat for me to be back in Baltimore. I grew up in this town. I could take you to every methadone program. I can take you to every drug corner. I could probably give you a 25-year history of drug corners. Tell you what was happening in what spot. I could take you to a few jails and institutions that I've spent time in this state. And when I left this state in 1979, I was full blown. crazy, insane. I was a madman. And here it is, 1994, WCNA 24, and I'm here. I look at, I look at this and I say, what's wrong with this picture? The only thing wrong in the picture is me. In my head, sometimes. You know what I mean? But I'm okay today. You know what I mean? And I need you people to let me know that I'm okay today. Because I can still think of sitting up in Hagerstown, week after week, month after month, for a good while, when I had one friend come to visit me. As a matter of fact, it's the same friend that's sitting in this room tonight. And he came to bring me up drugs. But I remember him and my mother were the only ones who came to see me. The only ones. I can remember living in the Albion Hotel, if anybody knows where that is or was or whatever. $35 a week, roach infested, living in the room with the sign outside with the red neon lights flickering and one of the letters burnt out. And they had a great big dresser like this tall, rickety. And all I had in it was a set of works and a cooker. And I was probably in my 30s. That was what I owned. I can remember living on Guilford Avenue in a roach-infested place that I was scared to walk in the kitchen. I was. I really didn't care that much about eating anyway. Because you know what? The only thing I ever ate, I stole. I wouldn't spend my money for food. Because that meant if I spent money on food, it meant I had that much less drugs. You know, a treat for me was a tasty cake. And I remember being on university methadone program about 5 blocks away from here. And on welfare, when I get my welfare check and my food stamps, I'd go to Lexington Market and treat myself to some fried chicken livers, a couple pounds of lunch meat, and then I'd sell the rest of my food stamps. That's the way it was. All my life I've lived the secret of life. When I was a little kid, I was scared to tell people I felt different. I was scared to tell people I couldn't do things the way they did them. Like, I'm learning disabled. I was one of those kids that used to do my B's and D's backwards. In my whole life, I never put together a puzzle. In my whole life, I never put together a model. Because I can't get things from a paper to my brain to reality. They just don't happen. And my friends joke about it. My wife jokes about it. She calls me mechanically declined. The guys I ride motorcycles with call me wrench. Because they it's a joke. It's a big, I'm okay with it because I can't do that. But man, you talk about giving, things of the spirit, things of the heart. That's me. That's me. I can't turn a wrench, but man, I can be a friend. And I was scared to tell people. I remember when I did my 3rd, 5th step with the sponsor I have now. I was scared to tell him that I almost let a guy do me in the penitentiary. I thought he might think less of me. You know, there was a dude in there who was on the methadone program with me, and, you know, I was young, dumb, and white in the Maryland Penitentiary. And I seen this dude, and he had 35 years for manslaughter. I had 5 years for selling heroin. And I didn't know nothing, you know. I went right from the courthouse to the penitentiary. Didn't even have a toothbrush. And this, you need cigarettes? Yeah, sure. You need cookies? Yeah, sure. You need candy? Yeah, sure. I didn't know that somewhere along the line there was supposed to be a bill. You know, I was running up a tab. And how I paid that tab was through ways that I didn't know anything about because I was just a dumb young kid. You know what I mean? And my cell partner, Gluebag, told me. He said, hey, this is what's happening here. And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I said, nah, he's my friend. And the dude tried to talk me into it, and I wouldn't go for it. Then he tried to threaten me, and I almost went for it. And then I said, you know what, this can't happen here unless I want it to happen here. And thank God it never happened because I didn't allow it. But, you know, I was scared. You know what I mean? I remember when I did my fifth step, and boy, this, you know, I battled with this whether I was going to really share this one or not, but I snitched on a dude. Now tell me that doesn't take balls to get up and say. I had already done time once, gotten arrested again, and was threatened with a parole violation. And I knew what I was going back to. And I didn't want to go back. And the police said, hey man, you know, you can help yourself by helping us. I didn't give a fuck. I was into me. I didn't want to do no more time. I didn't. If I did time, it meant I couldn't get loaded. You know what I mean? And I knew, you know, and I rationalized it and I justified it. I said, well, you know, and I picked a guy that had never been arrested. You know, and I knew in my heart that he wouldn't get time. It would just be a major inconvenience. So I threw him to the lions. You know what I mean? That's what I did. You know? And I'm glad I have the ability to be honest about things like that. You know? And if anybody in here, like, wonders, you know, or thinks I'm crazy or says, you know, hey, God, I hope I don't have what he has when I get, you know, X amount of clean time. Don't judge me, please. Don't talk about me, please. Just help me. Just help me. Each inventory that I've done has allowed me to get that much closer to the truth. And anybody in here who feels that they can't get that honest with their sponsor, take a look at it. The life you may be hurting may be your own. I found out a good while ago that I'm not here to save my face. I'm here to save my ass. I'm here, I'm in Narcotics Anonymous because, you know what? I got nowhere else to go. I've been other places. I never found the empathy anywhere else that I found in Narcotics Anonymous. People have never reached out to me anywhere else like they have in Narcotics Anonymous. People have never loved me in spite of me anywhere else like they do in Narcotics Anonymous. People have never, ever, ever told me to come back like they do in Narcotics Anonymous. And as funny or strange as that may seem, it means a lot to me. For me to have the ability to get up here and tell you anything about me, and you to come up and hug me and say, it's okay, man, just come back. Just come back. 3 simple words. Just come back. And you know what? I will. I will. I know that this is a Just for Today program, but I'm committed to be here for the long haul. One of the neat things that I've experienced in Narcotics Anonymous, when my brother passed away, I went to a meeting out in Hollywood, and I went early because I was doing bad, things were bad, and it was Friday night in Hollywood. It was real social gathering, and I tried reaching out. I went there half an hour early. I tried reaching out to everybody, and everybody was into, they'd like kind of give me the jive, 2-minute talk, but I could see while they were talking to me, they were looking at him or looking at her, checking out his ass, her ass, whatever, looking to see what who's wearing, thinking about where they're going after the meeting, and it kind of hurt me. I wasn't new. I had some time, and that's what I was taught to do. And in the meeting, I raised my hand. I said, you know what? This isn't Narcotics Anonymous that I was taught. I don't know how you do it out here, but you know what? In Jersey, we don't do it like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And a girl out there, they do it backwards anyway. The speaker goes second. They open it up to the floor first, and then the speaker shares. So I got to raise my hand. It just so happened the girl who was speaking was celebrating 15 years. And she came up to me after the meeting, and she said, you know what, all the girls I sponsor are putting on a party for me tomorrow. If you don't have a ride, we'll come and get you. I said, great. She called me that night. She called me the next morning, and they came and got me. And it just so happened that there was probably 100 people there. And out of the 100 people, I would bet 60 of them had 10 years or more. There was a guy there with 20, a guy there with 30, a lot of 18s, a lot of 20s. There were kids there that were 14 years old who've known each other their whole lives because their parents still came back. And it blew me away because in the area that I came from, we didn't have that kind of clean time. I never knew that kind of clean time was around. But it opened my eyes that, you know what? My kids can be friends with your kids in 10 years if we stay clean and if we keep coming. And the power of example is unbelievable. It's a gift of God. It talks about in the 11th step, prayer and meditation. I heard a guy say, and he says it a lot, the greatest prayer that we can offer to any God of our understanding is the way we live. Because it's easy to talk this stuff. But man, it's tough to live it. It's tough to live it. Day in and day out in all our affairs, this is tough to live. And thank God, nobody's asking for perfection. Or you know what? I'd be the only one up here. If they were asking for perfection, we'd all be in big trouble. And if nobody else told you today, I love you. And thanks for listening.